Hello, Minnesota Timberwolves fans. It is a time to discuss a sad evening yesterday when the Timberwolves lost to Memphis Grizzlies. And I am your host, Garrett Gilbertson, here to talk some T-Wolves with my buddy, Mike Baltz. Baltz, how are you doing? Oh, put the hat back on. All right, you're still sporting the gear. I like that.
Still smiling, I guess. I sported the gear at work today. I was offered many condolences.
Condolences for a very, very tough loss. Man, it was heartbreaking more than once during the game.
Yeah.
All right, there's a lot of things to talk about, and I think the first thing to start is just let's start with the loss in itself. A complete collapse and a tough one. What are your first reactions?
I went seeking solace in the internet, which is always a bad idea. Always. And so I read a lot of articles. I liked John Krasinski of The Athletics article the best. Kind of made me feel better. And there's a lot of negativity on Twitter and elsewhere and in my workplace today. But I liked what Pat Bev said. He's like, we held him to 104 points. The rest of the season, the way this Wolves team scored, we win that game. But for whatever reason, the offense was kind of stuck in glue in the second half, especially after a rip-roaring start, honestly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you take that into consideration going forward, we're down one game. We can steal back a game, if like at home, ideally. And this is still a series. I mean, there's also just the small consolations of the fact that we were 11 and a half games above what Vegas predicted us at to end the season. We're in the playoffs and not the 8th seed or the 7th seed. Although with Booker out, maybe we would be better as the 8th seed. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not getting into that too much. I was just too blown away by such a tough loss. Look, the T-Wolves did the most Minnesota Timberwolves thing and they lost the lead, but they lost it twice in the first half and the second half. It was unbelievable to watch. It blew my mind, man. It's tough to get over. I'm blown away by the mistakes that were made, and I'm gonna go straight at Chris Finch by going, "What were you thinking? Not calling a timeout there in that second half when they were on a 21-0 run, and he thought they'd let him play through it. Blew my mind. I was screaming at the TV saying, "End this."
Well, I mean, yeah, there was the timeout thing, which everybody's talking about, and is a very valid point. But there's also this guy has always, throughout the course of the season, I mean, it's his first season, first real full season, first time in the playoffs. But throughout the season, he's been one to hold his challenges. Even if there's an obvious challenge early, he holds it for later in the game. And last night, he used one early, which did not work. And then later on, I mean, there was the ball off Ja's foot. He couldn't challenge it. It was very clear. And there was when Vando, I think, just got pushed down from behind. But I will say this, in both of those instances, when you watch the replay, there is a ref standing 6 feet away looking directly at what's happening. And you're like, how are these called? What is going on here? And I wrote you some notes before this. And like one of the first things I noticed in the game as I was watching it is like, if you watched Jared Vanderbilt on every offensive possession, they weren't boxing him out. They were physically pushing him forward, pushing him out of bounds on almost every play, except for the ones he actually got an offensive rebound on, the ones he got free. And so when you're not calling stuff like that, and then you're calling, I think Cat's second foul was literally just a pick. On the broadcast, Jim Peterson was like, that was just a screen. He didn't move. He didn't shift his hips the way Cat sometimes does, spread his legs, trip someone. He didn't do any of that. It was a pick. And he got called for a foul for it. And there's just a huge inconsistency. And when you compare, I saw a lot of on the national like media and stuff like that after the game one, the first game between Wolves and Memphis, it hasn't really changed all series. I think there were like 8 fouls in the first 4 the first like 4 minutes of the game took like 30 minutes. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then you compare that to a game like the Celts and Nets game 1, which was a legendary basketball game that went down to the wire. Amazing shots, amazing play. And they were letting them play, letting them
Hmm.
go at it. And if you're going to let them go at it, then let them go at it on both sides. Let it just be a free reign. That's what we want to see. We want to see basketball be played. We want to see a bunch of guys tough playoff basketball. We don't
Yeah.
want to see a bunch of like parade to the foul line. Like,
No, the game doesn't need to be won or lost at the foul line or points gained because of all these ridiculous calls or misses of it too. How many times does the other team box out Vando in a foul? Like they're shoving him out of the way many times.
yeah,
Last night I saw that,
they're
and,
using
and you're
a.
right. Like
Oh, sorry.
they got to call it both ways. You're exactly right. Like if they're not going to call it they can't call Carl for the hook every game once.
Well,
So.
we got to be thankful that Memphis is a terrible 3-point shooting team usually,
Hmm.
because they're using moving picks to get corner threes. They're doing it like 3-4 times a game. They're missing 3 of them, but like, you're going to call Carl when his feet are set. He's not shifting his hip for a pick. And then you're going to let a guy dance around in front of one of our guys so they get an open 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like, I think those are, those used to be called like veteran savvy plays. The Spurs used to do stuff like that all the time back in the day,
Hmm.
where like they're just not going to get calls because it's Greg Popovich and the Spurs, and they had, Duncan and Kawhi and whatever. And you'd watch it as a Timberwolves fan, and then our team would do something similar, and we'd get called every time. And it's
Yeah.
like, there's a little bit of that going on, and that's fine. But this is all to say, like, the refs didn't lose that game. The Timberwolves lost that game.
Well, the Timberwolves lost that game for sure. But to the point of the refs, the call's not going the way, and Chris Finch, like maybe this was the game he needed to go off on a little bit. And if he's not going to call a timeout, then maybe he should have been disrupting the refs, getting their attention, just screaming at them about
Yeah,
some no calls there that happened. Because he's not, he really, I had a hard time watching and seeing him not affect the game in a positive way. And that's kind of,
mhm.
I think a lot goes on that second half collapse on the head coach's shoulders. But I think who takes most of the brunt really is Cat. Like no calls, yeah, I think he gets fouled a lot. You've said it many times, but he needs to play through it because the best of the best make the shots at the end of the day. And if he wants to be the best big man shooter in the league, he has to figure out a way to carry his team, not spend 8 to 10 minutes to end the third quarter or in the fourth quarter on the bench. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, I will say it's like half of his foul trouble, if not more. I can't remember them all, but like at least 2 of his 5 fouls were offensive.
Hmm.
And one thing that Cat showed last night that he did contribute is that was the best drop coverage D that he's ever played. That's what we were supposed to be doing 2 years ago with Cat, and he could never
Hmm.
figure it out. And last night he played legitimately great D. John Morant could not get in the paint and do anything. And
Nope.
that block that he had on him when I think he had 5 fouls, and Morant went right at him at the end of the game, and it was legendary. But yeah, you still got to be there on the offense. And one thing I saw a lot of is Cat at the corners. They got the ball at the top of the key. Cat's at the corners, and he's doing a lot of like this,
Hmm.
and kind of like motioning like he's like upset that his team isn't passing to him. But it's like you got a small guy on you who's fronting you, like you're not open. And maybe that's Cat's fault. Maybe that's Finch not scheming. Go to the other side, put Cat on the weak side, and try to run some schemes, run an action. You know what I mean? Get Anthony Edwards dribbling until there's one extra defender sucked in, and maybe you can hit him for a 3. If you can't get to the paint, whatever. I mean, I just think that like he just seemed to be in the same spot every time, just kind of motioning to give him the ball. And if I'm one of his teammates after the first 3 or 4 times, I'm like, why would I give you the ball right now? Every time that happens, there's a turnover or a
Hmm.
missed field goal. We're not getting anything from this. So hopefully Finch will do it and change it up. And the other thing I think is he's got to make a switch up. And if the switch up I see that's on paper makes the most sense is switching up Vando and McDaniels. As much as I
Yep.
like Vando, I love Vando. If you put McDaniels in the starting lineup next to Cat, it's harder for them to double off of Vando because right now they're just not guarding Jared Vanderbilt.
Yep.
And if they can still double Cat, but it's going to penalize them more. And the other thing is those players have to move because we all complain about Cat trying to throw out of the double. But the fact is, a lot of the times when there's a turnover, our players are not moving. They're just kind of standing there. And you can't do that. This is playoff basketball. You need to be going.
Well, and Jayden McDaniels has been the better cutter to the basket on and for the easy rebound passes or passes out of the double team for Towns. You know, he has proven to be a really good cut to the basket score guy over Vando. I haven't seen Vando score. He has 5 points? No, 10 points last night.
He was hot early during the run.
Yeah.
He was getting some dunks and some easy ones. I think he went to the free throw line at least once. And a shockingly good free throw shooter for someone who seems so kind of uncoordinated on offense at times. Oh, but McDaniels can shoot the three, kind of.
Yeah.
He can definitely put a couple dribbles and go to the hoop. And he has just maybe a little bit of playmaking creation. Like he can kick out. He can do some stuff. But that's much better. That's a huge upgrade from Vanderbilt. And then you throw Vanderbilt on the second unit. They're a deep team. So when it gets down to like their reserves, you put Vando out there. Now you got this guy battling their reserves. Like, I mean, honestly, you could play him instead of Nas as your backup center. And I don't think there's going to be much difference because at this point, they're not playing Adams. And they're not playing a big. They're playing like Kyle Anderson was their sub for Adams. Like, put Vando in as your second unit center and let him wreak havoc. And that seems to make sense to me. Like, and he'll grab like 16 rebounds a game, I'm sure. So I don't know. Whatever happens, like Finch has to do something. And he's shown throughout the season he's capable of making, savvy adjustments, I guess. Because sometimes we go to games, especially, and we're not used to it as a Wolves team. We had like Saunders and Tibbs, and they're like, these are the 5 guys that start. And then 8 minutes and 12 seconds in, I put these other 5 guys in. And then 4 minutes and 52 seconds later, put the other 5 starters back in. We're used to that. And with Finch, he's shown like, he's like, you know what? No one's hurt, but I'm going to start Taurean Prince tonight because I like the matchup. And I hope he's got to have the balls to do that in Game 4.
Yeah, I agree. I think Game 4 is going to be interesting, and this is a huge adjustment game for Chris Finch and the Timberwolves. I mean, you have to make the adjustments. They made the adjustments by sitting Steven Adams the entire game. He didn't even play, did he? Or even on
no. So. But the interesting thing is in Game 2, he did start, even though Cat torched him in Game 1. And then, is it Taylor Jenkins, their coach?
Yeah.
He didn't take Adams out until Adams was in foul trouble, at which point Adams didn't come back in. But it was just curious. It's like, what did you not see in Game 1 about Cat just destroying Adams? I didn't get it. And even in Game 1, I think Adams had like 5 rebounds. It wasn't anything. And that's what he's there for. So I don't even know why he played at the beginning of Game 2. And obviously that was a whole debacle. But like a heartbreaking loss. But I don't know. To me, I'm not completely bent out because, we did hold them to 104 points. And in a normal game, we win that game. We just need to get the offense unstuck at the end. And also, Tyus was a Timberwolves killer tonight.
Dude,
Apple Valley's on.
He was a great player off the bench. Just the floater he has is so fun to watch, and
he's clutch, man.
I miss him.
The national championship when he hit that 3 to win, it was beautiful. My buddies saw his brother Trey heading into the game, and they said, "What's up?" And he just walked right past them. But I would too if I saw a bunch of dudes jacked in Timberwolves gear.
Yeah,
Although they're both, natural born T-Wolves fans, or should be.
they should be. I bet they are.
Trey's
A
just
couple
mad
of
because he's on the Spurs and they're out.
hmm they had a good tough finish, but
Yeah.
were they gonna win in? They've been too hurt. Deontay Murray being hurt at the end of the year really hurt them because they were on a win streak there. But
Yeah, he had a
that's
great season.
another.
It's another podcast.
But that's another podcast. This is Timberwolves, not Spurs. Spurs speak.
Spurs speak. Workshop it.
You're right. Looking forward to the next game, man. They gotta come out and play strong, and I gotta see it from KarlAnthony Towns. If he's gonna be the leader superstar of this team, that tomorrow night is his game. It's to do it.
I mean, we lost that game at the ends of quarters. Every quarter, pretty much, except
finished
for the first.
strong.
And that was something that, as opposed to every Timberwolves team I've known since the Western Conference Finals run, we've always been bad at it. But it seemed like this season, as the season went on, even when we didn't win, sometimes we got better about finishing quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And we gotta figure that out. And it's hopefully it was a wake up call. And it's sad that the wake up call had to come at the expense of blowing 2 20+ point leads.
Yeah,
because that place was rocking. And now, is that place rocking quite as much in Game 4? Let's hope so. I can tell you, I'll be there for Game 6 if it happens. Good. And I will do my best.
And you know what? I think I'm hoping they'll be there because tomorrow night is too big of a game. I think they're too good of a team. They showed it twice during the game that they can put up 20+ points on you, but they got to hold it together and finish quarters and finish games and not let the refs affect Karl the way he wants to be. I'd like to see Karl make an adjustment going into the game saying, I can't drive to the hoop every time and pick up these 3 offensive fouls a night. Like, let me show him I'm a good shooter and show us the dirt once in a while or whatever. Change it up. That's all I'm saying is try to make an adjustment. I haven't seen it from him yet.
Yeah, I mean, he did throw Noel in Game 2. He threw TP in the second half of Game 3. But yeah, there needs to be more adjustments, better use of challenges and timeouts.
Yeah,
maybe a little lineup switch up in the of the starters. A little balance. Maybe don't use Nas at all because Nas has had some moments and he had some moments in Game 1, but really every time he's out there, they're just scoring. They're just scoring on us. And
every time Nas goes out on the court for Cat in the last game, it felt like the offense had to run through him too. Like he was replacing Cat and the previous plays they'd been running. Like, no, let him be the backup center and run it for Ant.
Put him in the corners.
Yeah,
that's where he can shoot threes. Plus, it'll draw a bigger guy out there. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if they can hold it up. I just think when you're looking at Nas, he'll have one good defensive play, and so people will talk about it. They'll be like, "Wow!" Like Bill Simmons, I heard multiple people talking about how much they love Nas Reed, and it's like, I get it. I like Nas Reed. Like he has his moments, but if you're really watching, there's one good defensive play, and then in all 12 other defensive series that he's in, they're just scoring. Or they have a really good shot, even if they miss, because he hasn't gotten it yet. As opposed to Malik Beasley, who has really come on as a defender, and I can't really blame anything about the game on him. Last night we almost shut down John Morant, and a lot of that was Cat, honestly, down low. He did not get into the paint like he likes to. Didn't get fouls, didn't all that stuff. But it's interesting that we still had more fouls than them, even though there were some makeup calls for some of the bad calls. The D'Lo offensive foul, which no one understood.
Yeah.
He was literally just going up the way you're literally taught to go up and shoot a layup, and he got called for flagrant. Was it a
Yeah.
flagrant one? And it was like, what are you seeing here? This is a guy going up to the hoop. Like, I don't know.
They claimed his leg went where it shouldn't be going, and it was intentional,
I mean, I think it
not
went to
intentional.
where it shouldn't go, but I don't think it was intentional.
No.
Probably. But the other thing I was gonna quick mention too is
Yeah.
after Cat banged his knee, I think he had
Yeah.
one 3-pointer
You
after
mean
that.
Edwards?
Sorry, Ant. Yeah, after Ant
Yeah.
banged his knee, which has been the knee that he's been icing. You see him come on to check back into the game. He's always got that big ice pack on, and he's taking it off, or heat pack.
Yeah.
I don't know what they use in the game, but he banged his knee, and I think he had 1-3 after that. But like for the most part, he was kind of a non-factor, and that's a huge thing. Like, I mean, like at that point, it's like if you have a healthy Cat and D'Lo, you're almost like maybe we rest him because he's not the decoy that he usually is. If he's just kind of like out there crossing 15 times and taking a step back three,
Yeah.
which sometimes when he's hot that works. But I think he was really feeling it at the end of the game because it seemed like in the first half he was fine, and then
Yeah.
kind of fell off.
Yeah, he definitely, when he banged his knee, he was hurting. He didn't move there for a while, and then yeah, it took him. I feel like in the end of the game, definitely was taking it a little slower. Didn't have that speed, that quick move that he had earlier on. I hope he'll be all right. They have said he's not on the injury report today.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
right now, I currently have the replay of the Heat Hawks on.
Nice.
You know what? The Heat also lost by when they were up 14, 16 points in the fourth quarter. But it was not on their home floor, which is a difference.
Oh, very big difference, especially when, you're a team who hasn't won at the home floor very recently.
All right. So, two questions.
Yeah, they had a good game. The
Yeah.
Hawks.
Do we need to come up with some kind of protest for the next Timberwolves game? Because it seems like when we protest, we do all right.
Yeah, maybe that was the deciding factor there. There wasn't a protest at the game this time. Remember, the first two games there was the glue girl, and then that was at the play-in game, right? And then in Memphis there was the chain chick. This lady, she was chained herself to the basket. There was no protester, so that might have been a reason for the collapse. We needed an extra break, a little longer time to have, the team needed to rest. Maybe that's what the protesters gave them.
I'm trying to think of something that like we could do that, maybe even wouldn't get us kicked out. Like we could do like was it like
we could just go
free the nipple protest, and I just have
There
like
you go.
black electrical tape. Just take my shirt off.
Yeah.
But maybe you
might
have
not
to
be
get
the
kicked
only
out.
person there without their shirts on and
Yeah, you're
would
right.
support your cause.
Or maybe just a shirt that doesn't have nipples. Like it's cut out right there.
That would be all right, like a Wolves shirt.
And I would probably get
the
kicked
logo.
out. With my nipples, I would probably get kicked out. So it might work.
Or seated at courtside.
Or seated. Get this guy to the front row.
It's front row type material.
Fur coat, nipples out. Let's go.
Seat him next to Glenn.
No, I want to sit next to Big Cat and Usher / John Morant's dad.
Yeah, that interview has been funny. They sure like to mess with each other. It's good.
Game one, we're out. Game one, I was at a sports bar, packed with Timberwolves fans. I've actually never seen anything like it in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a diehard. When people ask me today at work, they're like, "Wow, you're wearing your Wolves stuff after last night," and I'm like, "I wore this stuff when we were 12 and 70. That's who I am." and it's just a game. But like we were at a bar packed full of Wolves fans. They booed the Jimmy Butler commercials.
Yeah.
They were all about it. We stood, the whole bar stood until we scored the first basket, just like at Wolves games. And I don't know, that stuff is nice to see. And like, let's hope we go in a better direction. But we're at this bar, and they first showed Big Cat and John Morant's dad, and everybody at the same time was like, "Is Usher at the game?"
Yeah.
Because he looks like Usher. The whole bar was saying the same thing.
That's funny.
And they had the sound up.
I can see the resemblance.
Yeah, they had the sound up, but obviously it's also loud, and you're not like listening to.
Oh yeah.
Did you watch the national broadcast for game 1 at all?
No, I've just watched the local each time with Jim Peterson and Dave Benz.
Yeah, they had a whole thing in game 1 where, like, first off, some TVs were on Bally's and some were on TNT, and one was like 5 seconds ahead of each other, so everyone's freaking out. But then they switched them all to the national broadcast, and apparently there was a moment when like the audio went out,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of going like for like a little while, and we all thought it was just like a loose cable at the bar. You know what I mean? So we were like, figure it out or turn it off. And eventually, I guess there was a point when it was the in-arena audio was down. And I guess Stephen A. Smith and whoever like started talking because they couldn't get the audio in the game, and very clearly had not watched a single Timberwolves game in the season.
Huh.
Like, they didn't know a single thing. And they were like, how are they going to deal with John Morant? And this is game 1, when at the time John Morant is the 3rd leading scorer, and we were up by like 9.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I find that funny. And when people give all these takes about Cat or whoever, I feel like it's so much bias. Like, there's certain players like Tim Duncan, where they'd be like, you know what? Tim Duncan did not get a lot of shots off tonight, but he got 9 rebounds and he played legendary defense. And I don't think that Cat's performance is worthy of anything Tim Duncan did. I'm just saying it's all a little bit biased. And nobody's talking about the fact that John Morant was not great in game 3.
No, Morant has been pretty good. Held pretty good by our defense. Like, hasn't had a huge game in the series other than game 2, I think. But regardless of it, Cat's the man I gotta see have a big game and turn it up. I want him to, if he wants to self-proclaim himself the best big man shooter in the league, I gotta see it happen, and it's gotta be tomorrow night. Otherwise, there's too many other Did you see how they went off on NBA, the TNT, the main 4 guys, Barkley and Shaq and Johnson and Kenny Smith went off on Cat after that game 2?
They go after him every game. He wins a game, and those guys go after him because they want him to live in the post, especially Chuck, especially Shaq. They would be happy if Karl just lived 6 feet from the basket and only shot hook shots and turnarounds and layups. That's all they want him to do every time. They don't understand the modern NBA. I mean, these are the guys who said that the Warriors could never win a title because all they did is shoot threes. That was their take. You can't win a title by shooting threes. It's like, okay, well, they actually had kind of a dynasty, and maybe still do, because now they have a 3rd Splash brother.
Yeah.
Jordan Poole
has been amazing.
Draymond Green. I think Draymond Green is doing a little bit of the, like the late era LeBron James in the playoffs, where before the playoffs, where he's like, yeah, I'm hurt for 30 games, the last 30 games. Then I'll come back about 6 games before the playoffs. That's when I'll come back,
Yeah.
Because that's what happened. And it's like, was he hurt? I mean, I get it. What he's doing, I mean, Draymond Green is the best defender in the NBA. If he plays a full season, he wins defensive player every season. He's too smart. He's too long. He's got a freaky wingspan, and he's great. He hasn't played enough games lately. But when he's healthy, and I think they were just resting him for the playoffs because he's getting up there. He's like, 31, 32? They're resting him, and now they got that full-strength Draymond, 3 Splash brothers, Wiggins, who is way overpaid, but perfect guy to have as your fourth option.
Yeah.
Like, and just has to play some solid D, get some rebounds, and make a few shots. I mean, that team is scary. And if Booker doesn't come back soon, they could be looking at the finals.
Yeah, they're definitely. After watching last night's game, the Golden State just looks pretty amazing right now. So
Yeah.
they could definitely make a strong push. And yeah,
They
I don't
still
know how
got
long.
Bielitsa, right?
Yeah, Belly, he's there.
Belly could be an NBA champion this season.
Yeah,
That's something I can
could
be
be.
happy about.
It could be happy for him. Yeah, real good. Wiggins not so much, but Belly, you were a good guy.
I
What can
think
I
it's
say?
I think it's a little bit of a shame that Finch didn't get to use him, because the whole rub that when he went to Golden State is he's like, look, I never said I was a 3-and-D guy. I'm not, like, I'm a playmaker. When in Europe, I was a playmaker. Like, I would dribble, kick out, I'd give assists, get rebounds, and yeah, occasionally I'd make a three, but that's not like the main part of my game. We kind of
Mhm.
just tried to make him into this guy who only shoots threes. And Golden State, Steve Kerr, to his credit, is just like, yeah, we're gonna have you dribble around. But I'm curious to see what a player like that would have done with Chris Finch, because I think he would have probably used him a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm happy with having D'Lo and McDaniels in exchange for him. As a player replacement.
Yeah.
Two players for one. Yeah, I think that Golden State is a hot team, and they're definitely the tops here. I think they could easily handle Memphis, and at this point, the Wolves should be scared of them for sure.
Hey,
Phoenix should be scared.
I don't think any of us would be upset if what happened last night happened against the Warriors in round 2 of the playoffs.
No, I wouldn't be as upset as I was. I agree, man. Well, that's kind of that's what I think too, man. Good luck to them tomorrow night when they take them on Game 4. It's going to be the late game, so stay up late. Don't have too many beers before the game. Wait. That's what they always say. But good thoughts, Mike. Thanks for the notes on your last on the last game, and that the debacle that was the Timberwolves downfall. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk again here next time. Thank you, Timberwolves fans, and let's all go out and just settle down and enjoy tomorrow night's game.
Wolves
Thanks,
in
folks.
6,
Go Wolves.
baby!